Welcome everyone to the fourth and final in this series of bonus episodes for the 2022 Slow Living Challenge, during which we've taken a few moments to talk through each of the week's themes and how they work into the prompts and the ideas behind slow living in general and all the things that we're working through on this 4-week journey altogether. This is the last week of the challenge, but even if you're just coming on board, you can still go to www.ladyfarmer.com/slowlivingchallenge and get the downloadable calendar with the weekly prompts. When you do that, you will also have access to the previous weeks. So don't worry, you can start at the beginning if you want, jump in this week and start the first one next week. Even if you have been with us all 4 weeks, you can keep doing it if you want.
Yeah, you might want to do it again.
Yeah.
You might want to do it every month.
The structure that we've built around this one, though, does stop on February 28th. So at some point, that link you won't be able to access the link and do the download. So if you're interested, go ahead and grab that at the link, ladyfarmer.com/slowlivingchallenge. It's also linked in the show notes of this episode. And we've just had such a great time, and this has been such a special opportunity to really revisit these ideas that you and I particularly talk a lot about and think a lot about, but it's fun to get the community engaged in this way, and it's really fun. We've met several new people through this, so thank you for participating, and thank you for sharing your experiences, and I'm excited to dive into the theme for this week. Mom, do you want to introduce it?
Yeah, this week's theme is to seek inspiration. And I like to start with thinking about the word itself, to inspire, like to breathe in, which is something we do every minute of every day, both automatically and unconsciously. And this is merely to keep ourselves alive. And in the same vein, we're surrounded by life-giving oxygen to breathe in constantly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if inspiration is like breathing, it's like inhalation, and it's either Latin or whatever root of that word, it literally means to breathe in.
Yeah, inspire, like in spirit, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Then I guess that's kind of like what you just said, where it's something we need to do constantly to stay alive.
And the opposite of it is expiration, or to expire. And that's also something we do constantly and unconsciously, is breathe out. But to expire also means to end, like when something runs its course, or to die. So that sends me down the thought path of inspiration as being something that's not only ongoing, but also essential to our being alive, moment by moment. So how do we recognize those things around us that are enlivening to the non-physical aspect of ourselves, like as in our soul or spirit, or however you want to think of it? That kind of inspiration. And how do we apply that to the slow living challenge? How do we seek to enliven ourselves on a daily basis in that way?
So I think that this comes into play in the slow living challenge because it's kind of all about slowing down enough to make space for the inspiration to come to you, but it also just like a certain amount of openness. So it's hard to be inspired when you aren't in the moment, when you aren't present, when you're feeling overwhelmed or harried or hurried. And what's cool about inspiration is that the more of us slow living seekers, the more of us people who are wanting the world to be a healthier and more beautiful place, the more of us that are getting inspiration and making the time and space for that, the more that I think we will take beautiful, aligned action in the world and truly make it a better place.
In terms of the prompt this week and seeking inspiration, what do you think that means for people day to day? I mean, we've sort of talked about it in an abstract sense, but what do you think that means for, like, when you wake up in the morning or you're starting your day? How do you seek inspiration?
Well, I think what's funny about seeking inspiration is more like making space for it to come.
About recognizing it.
Yeah, recognizing it. When I'm thinking about like how this applies to every day, it's like, how are we making space in our day for the inspiration to come in?
Mm-hmm.
And how are we making things in our around us simpler or less stressful or aggravating in some way so that we can free up that time or space or whatever it is for us to recognize that inspiration.
Such as taking a moment for some reading or conscious breathing or even staring out the window, as we were talking about, which is a way of slowing down enough to let those ideas and insights come to us. And at the same time, we can appreciate how the possibilities for inspiration are everywhere around us.
So how would you say that you've been seeking inspiration this week?
I think I've been finding a lot of inspiration in recognizing that spring is just around the corner. Just seeing all the little signs and feeling the difference in the atmosphere and the changing light, and seeing little green sprouts just starting to come up, and looking to nature for the message over and over again that the earth renews life, and in turn we can renew ourselves at any time, and just seeking the promise of everything that's to come in the next few weeks, I find very exciting and enlivening. And the whole thing sort of goes back to the theme of the first week, which was to identify a slow living practice for ourselves. And what you were talking about, Emma, about making the space to receive inspiration.
Yeah, and you're mentioning that kind of makes me think about how the four themes throughout the 4 weeks of the Slow Living Challenge, which have been seeking a slow living practice, becoming aware of our feelings or taking a feeling inventory, cultivating appreciation, and then now seeking inspiration. Those things kind of add up and they all work together. It's a real progression.
Also, we talked a lot during this challenge about observing our feelings, observing our surroundings. And again, when we take time and pause to observe, inspiration is everywhere. Wow. It's neat how it all wraps up together, and understanding that inspiration is as available and constant and life-giving as the act of breathing if we're open to it in that way. And this is something that can make a huge difference in our day and the decisions that we make and how we look at things and feel in the moment. So we hope you've enjoyed connecting all these ideas and practicing them.
Yeah. And we hope, of course, that these past few weeks, for those of you who have been following along, have been also a source of inspiration, and that you're able to take the opportunity of this week to sort of pull it all together and see kind of what you've gleaned from it, and that you feel empowered and excited and like you have the space to welcome those inspirations in and maybe even act on them. And we hope that you continue to let us know on Instagram or join us in the Almanac, and just come along for your slow living journey so we can all sort of be in this together. I think that the world will be a better place with as many lady farmers as we can being open to and receiving their inspiration and using them to make the world a better place. So we thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And we will be back Friday with another great interview and some more stories that you have shared from your Slow Living Challenge adventure.
And keep tuning in to the Good Dirt podcast. We'll still be here every Friday. We've really enjoyed these extra episodes as well, checking in here. And if you have any ideas for interviews or anything else that you'd like to hear about from the Good Dirt, feel free to email us, thegooddirt@gmail.com. And as always, we'd love to have you join us in the Almanac. This show is supported by all our wonderful members in the Almanac. It's our online membership community, which you can join. It's linked in our show notes. We'd love to see you in there as well. Get your thoughts and your feelings about all of this. And yeah, we'll see you on Friday. Thank you so much.
Thank you.